ahead of us, or a busy show, I should say. We have Brandon Gibson from Jackson Winks that are going to join us. And then we're going to also get in from the IMI group, Eric Martinez. He's got a Rumble at the
Rock too. So
correct.
It's boxing. There's a lot of boxing coming up that we got to get into.
So we got 2 interviews, and then let's jump into the national side of things. Micah, fill us in.
Well, starting off on the national side of things, there's 2 events coming up this weekend, and we should probably start on Saturday. Invicta, actually. It's a weird weekend. We get Invicta coming on Saturday night. They get the light that's normally the main MMA night, and you got Cyborg in the main event taking on another girl, I believe, making her debut down here. 9-1 though. You never know what's gonna happen, but you expect Cyborg to knock somebody out. Sal, do you have any other thoughts besides that about Cyborg fighting?
I think it's interesting because when and if she does win, Holly's already stated also that she would go up and fight her. So that could be a super fight later down the road. I mean, bring her in. She's signed under a Zuffa contract. She's not under an Invicta contract. Everybody knows that. It's no secret. So she can transfer over. Holly's willing to go up to 145. Let's make it a special night. After, of course, Holly's got to first take care of Miesha Tate, and we'll talk more about that as well. That happened late last week. That fight got announced. But it's an interesting time for Cyborg. She should blast through the girl. Angela Hill got a new opponent. She was supposed to be taking on Jackson Winks' Jody Escobar. Jody pulled out for whatever reason. It's MMA. What is it? MMAfighting.com was speculating that she's going to be part of the TUF.
Speculation. She's going to be part of TUF, and maybe we'll touch on that with Brandon Gibson later.
Yeah, possibly.
Who works with her.
Yeah,
so there's news there.
We'll see what happens. And then also, of course, the one that I feel is right on the cusp of a title shot, should she win, Amber Brown out of Fit NHB. I really want to see her again in the cage. Last time out, she really impressed me. And I'm excited to see her. This should take her over the top and give her that title shot.
It should. It's a little less momentous with the change just recently. I mean, Friday night it was announced Lisa Ward-Ellis is ill, unable to compete, and coming from Japan, Pancrase Jewel veteran Shinho Van Hoos. Would I be right on that, Sal?
I'm not going to touch it. So
I don't know. But what we do know is she has 3 of her 4 wins via the submission. Coming all the way from Japan, that's going to be a hard one. Amber Brown on the cusp, like you said, of the title shot. Jody, I do believe, is going up to strawweight. So I believe Amber was ranked at 5. That jumps her up to 4 or 3. So she's right there. Also, we got to remember on this card, I do believe that there's going to be another title fight also, that the 115-pound women, the strawweight title, is on the line when Livia Souza gets challenged by Deanna Bennett. Souza, all 7 of 8 wins via submission. The strawweights, you're always looking to add more. One of these women's going to be 9-0. That could catapult them also, talking about the UFC, right up to that stage. Especially Souza, if she's able to defend the title, undefeated. We need more prospects in that division. So Invicta, a big night. It can impact the national scene, our local scene, and also CageMinds.com. We got an interview that's going up with Amber Brown, so you guys got to check that out.
And did you touch on the title?
We're gonna touch on that. Of course, we have to touch on that.
Because she's right there. She's
right there.
And she should be getting, and she deserves it. She really does. I mean, this girl, blew my mind her last fight. I mean, just...
And she seeks out fights.
Beat the snot out of the Conor McGregor, female Conor McGregor. That's what they called her. I didn't call her that. That's what they were calling her. They were saying, oh, she's the next girl up, and just mauled her.
Too much Irish hype in that one. Amber Brown has proved to be a real deal, and she deserves to get that title fight. So that's Saturday. And on a normal weekend, that's the main event. But this special weekend, it's just an appetizer as Sunday night, the UFC going head-to-head with the NFL. We will have TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz battling it out. UFC Fight Night in Boston, Madison Square Garden, the Bantamweight Championship of the world. Who will come away victorious?
TD Gardens.
TD Gardens?
Don't call it Madison Square Garden.
Did I say Madison Square?
That's New York, man.
Oh, shoot me.
Forget
shoot
Boston.
Me. Did I say
Boston.
That?
I'm a New York Knicks fan.
TD
so
Bank Garden, right?
And New York Yankees, so yeah.
Yankees fan myself. I should slap myself.
Yes, you should. Calling Boston, really.
I almost feel like we should restart the segment for that, but that was my bad. Okay, so Dilladouche and Cruz. Who's going to win this fight, Sal?
Well, I don't, it's going to be interesting. I think TJ has a lot of distraction, and he placed it on himself, moving away and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting. If Dominic Cruz comes back the way Dominic Cruz came back the last time when he was injured and can stay healthy and his knee holds up, both knees hold up in this fight, I think he becomes champion.
I feel so split on this fight, but I got to say, I'm going with Cruz. I believe he wins this. You don't want to go and look too far back, but nobody could touch him.
Yeah.
Mighty Mouse is the best fighter on the planet, and remember, Cruz wrecked him twice.
The only thing that I say is with him is if he can stay injury-free in the fight, he'll be fine.
I kind of believe he can stay injury-free for 25 minutes, or at least not feel it for that 25 minutes. Whether the week comes out next after that again he's blowing out his knee, I would not be surprised. But does he win the title Sunday night? I believe he does. I believe he takes the decision. I don't know if he can knock out Dillashaw, but Dillashaw has been knocked out before. We'll see. But I don't think Cruz sits down enough, puts enough power on his punches. But then again, I didn't think there was any way he would stop Mizugaki, who was so durable, took everyone to the decision, and he did that. So that really has me believing when you look at that last fight. As far as Dillashaw goes, he is the perfect example of a replica Dominic Cruz, but he hits with more power. More power means he sits down on his punches, he leaves more holes out there, and also then we get into the Conor McGregor syndrome, the mental warfare, and there's a giant gap in that battle to where Cruz has got inside his mind, run around, jumped off the walls in there, and irritated Dillashaw all over Fox Sports 1. I think there's a mental edge there to Cruz that Dillashaw knew he had Barrow's number, and he felt he had his number the first fight, to where Cruz is in Dillashaw's head.
Yeah, I think the mental aspect plays a big role in this fight as well. But again, I just can't count him out. There's no way. I think Dominic wins the fight, hands down, unless a knee gives out a la Carlos Condit when he fought, Tyron Woodley. If that situation happens, then that's the way TJ Dillashaw wins, keeps his title, I should say.
So, uneventfully, we're going the same way. We're taking a Cruz on this.
Yes.
And then the co-main event, Showtime. Anthony Pettis against Eddie Alvarez. This is a fight a couple years ago that really would have been deciding who's the number one 155-pound fighter on the world. When there was a Bellator champion, when there was WEC champion. There's a nostalgia factor I almost feel for this fight, but I feel that they're almost too young for me to have nostalgia about this one.
It's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be action-packed. I'm actually taking Eddie Alvarez in this fight. I think he's going to come out and win this fight. I really do.
How do you think Alvarez does it?
I think it's going to be a decision, but I think he's just that grindier type of fighter, and Showtime is Showtime for a reason. But I think he gets the win.
I almost want to believe that Pettis comes back, but we saw how Dos Anjos grinded him up. There is a recipe out there.
Yeah.
I have a Pettis feeling about it. I don't know why. I have a feeling that he walks away with the victory, and that Alvarez has a tendency to get stunned and dropped in every single one of his fights, and Pettis doesn't usually drop a lot of guys without finishing them.
Sure.
So there's something in that recipe that I feel that after the consecutive losses, that Pettis comes back, and then I may be a homer on this one a little bit too much, but I really believe in the work that he's been doing with Izzy style wrestling, being up there in Chicago, also really close to his Milwaukee roots. I think we're going to see enough wrestling out of him to hurt Alvarez on the feet.
We'll see. We'll see. That it's two fun fights. The co-main and the main event are very high action. The next one could be
Oh, let's not get this wrong. There are 3 fun fights. This is going to be fun.
Well,
it ain't going to last long, but it's going to be fun.
You never know, though. These guys can come in huffing and puffing, and it could be a garbage fight. It could be. But there's a possibility that it's 3 fights that are good.
Okay.
The co-main and main, these guys for a fact.
So for people who don't know, we're already arguing about Travis Brown versus Matt Mitrione. And just real quick, throwing this out there. Take out Velasquez, take out Verdum from the equation. Are you going to get 2 more heavyweights that come in shape with gas tanks than Brown and Mitrione?
I don't know if Brown really does come in shape. In that last fight against Andre Arlovski.
Got hit hard.
But was that the reason, or was he out of shape also?
So is Travis Brown in the mindset to fight right now, given everything in his personal life? Don't want to drag stuff out in the garbage here.
The girlfriend and the ex-wife or the wife, whatever she is, I think Matt Mitrione knocks him out.
You think that Meathead comes out here, puts a combination together, and puts him to sleep?
Yep. I really do.
That can happen. Only thing I could see, I really actually like that prediction too, would be if Mitrione ends up on the ground with Travis, because we've just seen Mitrione doesn't seem to translate well into his grappling.
Travis he's not known to take people down. He gives shots. He fires shots. He fires stand-up, and so I don't think he's going to try and take down Matt. I think he's going to get knocked out.
I've been a fan of Brown's, and one of those things that you got to hate about him is where he puts his hands.
Yes.
And Mitrione is fast, light on his feet. That could spell a big knockout.
The beard does not help him one bit.
The beard does not help him in this one. Mitrione could get the biggest win of his career. What have they been putting in with him with the Black Zillions? We move on the card. A lightweight battle. Ross Pearson, who called himself the worst slow starter in the world. I think that's Cowboy Cerrone, actually, but they're pretty damn close to each other. And Francisco Trinaldo. Trinaldo is a dangerous Brazilian with a grappling pedigree, and he has enough power in his hands to hurt you.
Yeah. I think it's Francisco's fight to lose. I think he has more of the right now skill set. I think Ross has been in the wars. And I think Francisco's going to be the guy to win the fight, probably submission.
Let's not get this wrong. Pearson has a puncher's chance, but he's going to get grinded up and put on the ground with a much more skilled opponent.
And I think the transitions on the ground will catch up to him eventually by the middle of the second round, I think.
Another fight that I'm really looking forward to, Patrick Cote, a veteran. We've seen him in a lot of wars before. He's taking on Ben Saunders. Saunders is going to find a way to get this on the ground and get a submission. It happens in his fights. And we've seen Cote want to go into kind of a grinding style. Well, Saunders will help you pull guard, use his crazy skills that he's been getting with Eddie Bravo, and find a submission. I think that's what happens again.
Yeah, I think the unorthodox 10th Planet style will shine with Killer B, and he'll get a submission win, probably second, third round.
And in an amendment to an article I got up on Cage Minds, RFA this past Friday announced that RFA 35 would feature Mehdi Baghdad making his first RFA lightweight title defense. That is null and void, as injury has moved him up to the big show to, on a week's notice, face Chris Wade. This is a dangerous fight for Baghdad if Wade can get in there and grind on him. Baghdad, though, if you've seen him, he has serious striking ability, a Muay Thai background. He wasn't himself, broke his hand in the Ultimate Fighter, in the fight with Artem Lavov. I think Wade he wins this fight because it's a weak notice, and Baghdad is going to have a hard time with that, as he was preparing for a fight weeks away. So he was in the start of his camp, I believe.
I honestly don't know too much about either one of these guys. So I'm going to go with you on your pick on this fight.
That's mine. Also, talking about an RFA vet making his debut on short notice, having to move up a weight class, Luke Colhan Sanders. This is a raw deal for him. Undefeated RFA bantamweight champion, had been sitting on the sidelines forever waiting for the UFC to sign him, and now he has to move up a weight class and take on Maximo Blanco. And Blanco is just a wild man. He goes out there to put on a show. Really, this fight is a pick-em because Blanco throws everything at you, has a wrestling background. Sanders is an ultra-tough guy that if he was in his bantamweight debut with a full camp, I believe he would be victorious. But Blanco's going to be that much bigger. It's a hard one for Sanders to win.
Yeah, I think Maximo wins this fight. Like you said, he's exciting, he's explosive, he throws everything into it, and moving up a weight class is going to be different these days. Well, it is different.
It is different.
It's totally different for everybody. Now it's not, I can just bounce around, and I think Conor McGregor is going to feel it. Moving up to 155, I think he's going to feel the difference.
The size of those arms is something
totally
like that.
Different. So,
also hitting on this one, there's a middleweight, or I think this one might even be light heavyweight, actually. Tim Boetsch and Ed Herman. I'm not sure what weight class this one's going to be at. I know they both recently fought at middleweight, but I've heard they may both be moving up to light heavyweight. So that would be something different. Rugged UFC vets. Boetsch coming off of the knockout loss to Henderson. He had a good run when he moved down from light heavyweight to middleweight after being submitted by Phil Davis. But his wrestling pedigree kind of gave out on him. Fought some heavier strikers, some more technical guys. Ed Herman, short fuse. He's been around forever. Puts on a heck of a fight. I don't know who to pick on this one because I'm not sure what weight class it's going to be at, but Boetsch is going to have a strength and a wrestling advantage that should put him on top for a victory.
Yeah, I agree. I think the size difference is there, and I think Tim comes out with the victory, a grinding victory. I don't think he's going to knock him out. I think Ed, like you said, has been around forever. And I think he knows how to keep himself in those type of fights. At
lightweight, there's also Darren Cruikshank taking on Paul Felder. Paul Felder, by knockout, I think he gets to strike with the guy that wants to strike with him, and he's going to get to show that off. The guy is a great tactician on the feet.
Yes, he was, and we'll see what happens. We got to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have
a conversation with Jackson Wink striking coach. He was in the corner of Carlos Condit at UFC 195. We'll get his thoughts on the robbery. We talk with Brandon Gibson when we return.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
The DC Life Uncensored, we're back. I'm Micah Frankel, Sal Morris, taking a coffee break. And right now, I get to have a conversation with Six Guns, Brandon Gibson, Jackson Wink striking coach. He was there at UFC 195, and we're going to get to pick his brain about the night. Thank you for the time, Brandon. How you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Michael. It's great to be a guest on DC Life.
So, first off, as a whole, for the team, what did you think of UFC 195?
It was a rough night for the team. We've definitely had better nights. I think we've had, worse nights. So it's our job to just go back and review and analyze what we did right and what we did wrong, and keep getting better as a team, as a group.
How much you take some of that with a grain of salt? Because there's a giant argument, obviously, for Carlos got robbed, and then also you can see on the look on Alex Morono's face, he didn't even believe he beat Kyle Noke. So can you guys kind of take a grain of salt with it that a 1-3 night was a hair away from being a 3-1 night?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it should have been a 3-1 night. Some of the stuff isn't in our control. It's not our job to do the judging, especially when we're in the corner. We're not necessarily looking at the fight through a judge's eyes, but on both Kyle Noke's fight and Carlos Condit's fight, when the fights wrapped up, we thought we were in the victorious fighter's corner.
So then, does that even able to give, some positivity back to Carlos and Kyle coming out of it? You can hold your head up high, be proud. Those were really close, decision losses. You didn't really lose kind of mentality.
I had a good talk with Carlos yesterday, and I flew back home with Kyle on Sunday, and those guys They've been in this game for a long time, and we don't judge everything just in the wins and losses columns. Carlos had a fantastic experience. He said you got to go lay it all out there. You got to go to a deep place with the champion, 5 rounds. He felt like he fought great, and he was really proud of himself. I think Kyle wishes that he left a little more out there. But Kyle's definitely hungry to get back in. Hopefully he'll get to fight in the upcoming UFC card in Australia. And now Carlos has some choices with what he wants to do with his future.
And for Kyle, we saw the blood flowing out the nose. Is the nose broken?
Yeah, his nose was pretty damaged after the fight, but I don't think it slowed him down in the fight. I think maybe the blood played a little bit of a role to the judges, but it didn't affect Kyle in any way during the fight.
And then, got to start talking about it now. The main event. Have you rewatched it?
Yeah, I've rewatched it twice since the fight, and tried to watch it, muted in a quiet place, and just watch how it played out. Watch what I could have done different in preparing Carlos, or maybe done differently in the corner, or lessons learned from it.
And then looking at it from the striking coach's perspective, every time I watch the fight, there's a couple times Carlos pulls out, his head's high. I know he doesn't, get knocked out, but you still kind of get that feeling like a bomb could be coming. Were there a few of those moments where you felt defensively things need to get cleaned up a little?
Sure. There was moments in the fight where I wanted, his hands up a little higher when he was in that boxing range, and a little bit smarter with his exits. But I think overall, to go 25 minutes with Robbie Lawler, one of the greatest punchers in welterweight history, is a testament to Carlos's footwork and defense and chin.
And then from that, you had said in a previous interview you were really happy with his creativity in moments. What were some things that he made up on the fly that you really got excited about?
The switch uppercut that dropped Robbie in the first round, that was something, Carlos improvised. He saw in that moment, and he just went and took it. That wasn't something that had necessarily been part of the game plan, or something we'd been drilling and repping for months. So there's moments like that. And then there was moments of the fight where there's things that we had drilled for months and months and months that really came into play and that he was very effective with.
When you watched the fight in that quiet place, say taking out the shot that actually knocked Carlos down in the second, I'd say there was a good case for he won every round.
Yeah, I think the 5th round, one which everybody gave to Robbie, I think it wasn't until the last 90 seconds that Robbie kind of turned it up. There was a couple moments there where Carlos was in a little bit of trouble, but Carlos, started firing right back. But I think most of the 5th, Carlos was the one dictating the pace and the pressure and landing some effective shots. So I think the 5th is maybe one of the harder rounds to judge.
Like I said earlier, I'll admit to it, I've watched the fight 10, 11 times. I've kind of went a little overboardly psychotic on breaking this one down, to the point where I had my remote in my hand so I could time things down, and Robbie Lawler literally turned up that big flurry that wins him the fight. It was from the 144 mark to the 44-second mark. And that 1 minute seems to be what the judges gave, because you look before that, like you said, there was a lot of angling. Carlos with his tight combinations, his short shots, and something that even I don't think he got too much credit for was in the middle of that big flurry, or at the end of it, that 44-second mark, there was a left hook he lands to the body. That looked like it took the air out of Robbie, and that's when he backed up, and Carlos again resumed being offensive, which I felt he did for 4 minutes of that round.
Yeah, that's a perfect observation. In that last 20 seconds, I think was just epic, where those guys were just emptying out the gas tank. Everything they had left, they were leaving it there.
So So the 5th round was close, and that 3rd round. The 3rd round, I got the opinion of nobody knew that Robbie Lawler won that round until the judges told us that he did. Because, again, it was around the same thing. I thought that was one of the rounds where Carlos was his most offensive, where Robbie did his most backpedaling, and Carlos had the center of the octagon and was really keeping him along the fence. So was that around what you felt?
You know, right after the 5th round, all the cornermen, you know, we kind of stood up and hugged each other. We felt like we just won a world title. You know, we weren't necessarily celebrating or anything like that. We still had a close fight and the decision ahead, but you know, we were proud of what Carlos accomplished. And then once we got into the cage, you know, Dana White came up and shook our hands and said, "Hey, I think Carlos won that fight." And you know, we're just anxiously waiting. And I knew it was going to be a split with how long the judges were taking. And that kind of worried me, you know, in that moment. I thought back to Kyle's fight earlier that night. And, you know, hey, the judges liked guys throwing big hooks, even if the hooks were missing. And I hope that doesn't impact our fight, but it did.
So from that now, where do you go? Who's next up for you? Who are you going to be cornering and doing next? Whose camp is next?
You know, we never have a break, but UFC Pittsburgh is lining up to be really, really big for Jackson's. Obviously, the Battle of Albuquerque, the Battle of Edgewood with Cowboy and Tim Means. And then I have Cody No Love Garbrandt against John Lineker. Derek Brunson's going to be fighting Jacau. One of Cowboys' training partners, Jonathan Webb, is on that card. So yeah, we're really lining up. One of Alistair's teammates, CR, who's been down at Jackson, is going to be fighting Brandon Thatch. So it's looking like we're going to have about 5 guys on that Pittsburgh card.
It's going to be a hugely busy night, and then we know you're born and raised down here. What do you think of that main event, really? The huge matchup, Cowboy and Tim Means. I can't wait. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a fans fight for sure. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Tim and his crew over at Fit NHB. It's been a while since Jackson's and Fit have got to compete against each other at a real high level, and you know, this is as high level as it gets. I'm excited to see Cowboy at welterweight. I think we could really kind of change some things up and revamp them. You know, Cowboys used to be in the bigger, taller fighter, and now we got to fight bigger, taller guys, so we got to kind of change up Cowboy's style a little bit, make him a little more of the small guy fighter. But with all due respect to Tim, I think, you know, he has some openings in his game that we're going to look to exploit, and I know there's seen some openings in Cowboys' game that we got to tighten up and defend.
And then we're talking about coming off of all these title fights. Andre was right there. How far do you think Cody and Derek are from there? They're both on some good winning streaks and making names for themselves.
Yeah, I think Cody still has a little bit of a ways to go, but I think the fans are getting to know him for only being 2-0 in the UFC. You know, he's making a pretty good name for himself. Very talented, hardworking young man, and I'm excited to have him come down to Albuquerque. He loves it here. He clicked really well with the team, so he's doing a little bit of his camp in Sacramento with the guys at Alpha Male, and then a little bit down here with us. And I think if he gets a big win over Lineker, you know, maybe that title fight is only a short time away. And 185 is the Shark Tank right now, but you know, Brunson's proven how tough he is. You know, he's gone the distance with Yoel Romero already, and we just need to get some more time in with Derek, and I think he has a really bright future ahead of him.
And then you also said CR Bahadurzada is down there. How long has he been with you guys?
He came over in maybe November, late October. Good friends with Alistair Overeem, and he's come down and spent some time with us, and he's very talented, very strong, very smart, and so I'm excited about his matchup with Brandon Thatch. That should be a striker's dream.
And then also we've been seeing you've been getting out there and huge acclaim throughout the Southwest. News stories, also people like Cody, Anthony Burchak, just rave reviews throughout everyone that you've been working with. So what's it been like for you getting some of these experiences, going out to tough and working with all these high caliber fighters?
You know what? It's been humbling. I have the two best coaches, best mentors anybody's can ask for, and learning under Greg Jackson and Mike Winkeljohn has been such an honor, and getting to work with very high level guys like Carlos Condit and John Jones and Overeem and Orlovsky. So I feel like I'm getting to take these tools I'm learning from these super high level guys and working these high level fights, and I'm able to apply them towards some of these younger guys. And I really do think I'm going to start building my own next generation of fighters. And you mentioned great guys like Cody and Anthony Burchak, but even out of Jackson's, I got guys like Landon Donata. He's undefeated. He's an RFA. Phil Hawes, big things are coming his way, and my little sis Jody Escobar. So I have a very strong conviction that Jackson's is going to continue to keep developing champions, and hopefully I'm a good part of that.
And what if you can tell us what's going on with Philip? Because I believe the last time we were expecting to see him fight was at a Titan event. That ended up not happening. Is he getting anything lined up soon?
Yeah, we actually just took Phil and Jody Escobar to the Tough tryouts a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and now we're just kind of in this limbo process, waiting to hear back from the UFC. But we're getting really close, so we should have a good idea soon if they're going to be making it into the next season.
And then up on Facebook Sunday night, we saw you and John Jones were at it again. Any inkling you can give us how much closer it's getting to possibly the UFC announcing when we'll see him back in action?
I don't know, but we don't have a date that we're training for. We're just training, and we're definitely training with the intention of reclaiming his light heavyweight title. Carlos's fight really inspired John, and it definitely inspired me. And we hit Sunday nights anyway, so it wouldn't have changed anything if Carlos had won that night, or we went home empty-handed. But John Jones and I were going to be cracking pads, and that's just kind of a disciplined schedule that we hold each other to. But hopefully it's soon. Hopefully we hear something big about John and his next fight. I want to see him back in there with that belt around his waist.
And we touched a little bit on February 21st. Going to go back a little bit, though. February 13th, do you have anybody that you're going to be actually up there at Buffalo Thunder cornering for Jackson's MMA Series 17?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be an awesome night. I'm excited to see Nick Urso and Jordan Espinoza, two of the best flyweights that New Mexico's produced, and that should be a fun one.
I can't wait to see that one. My opinion is RFA and Legacy need to be all over that fight, because I believe one of them should be in one of those regional title fights coming off this win, if not getting a chance at the UFC.
I agree. Some high-level guys, and I always like to see the local talent knocking each other off, but I think this one makes sense to both sides, so I'm excited for a good scrap.
I gotta thank you for the time. It's always great getting to chat with you, Brandon. Gotta congratulate you guys on a tremendous fight, and again, a great night that should have been 3-1 at UFC 195.
I appreciate it, Micah. Tell Sal I said thanks, and always a pleasure talking with you guys.
That was great. Thank you for the time, and everybody, DC Life Uncensored will be back after these messages.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
Welcome back. That was a good interview. I got my coffee fill during that break. for you talking with Brandon about Carlos's mindset, flying back home, talking about how he transitions. It's kind of interesting to hear how you have to as a coach. It's such an emotional fight, and then having to come back, but you still have other fighters that you got to train and whatnot. So it was interesting.
It's the constant grind for those coaches from one week to another, just hearing everything. They got 5 fighters coming up on that UFC Fight Night 82. It's going to be a huge event. You got Jackson's MMA series. They can't stop. And then you never know. I mean, Holly Holm just gets another huge fight announced. I mean, this is the most official, unofficial thing I've ever seen. What's going on? Why has there not been an official announcement, Sal, from the UFC?
I think what's happening is I think they're waiting to see if that new arena in Vegas opens up in time, and they're probably playing that position where they want it, because you know how huge that card will be in that new arena.
It's actually already been named, at least. It's the T-Mobile Arena. AT&T Stadium, T-Mobile Arena, NetLife. It's all sickening, but it's a huge stadium.
T-Mobile's stadium where your calls get dropped with the weak signal. I'm a Verizon guy.
Hey, but if you are a T-Mobile customer, you do get deals and VIP packages and special ticket offers according to the stadium from their website. So
you keep your 5% off.
Big news, unofficially, official, Holly Holm, Miesha Tate. Is that what's holding? It's the contracts. You have to put a venue in there. They can't just say in Las Vegas.
Oh, I think that's what I think they're just waiting to announce it. In the sense of where they're going to put it. Who knows? Look, boxing and the HBO Boxing and UFC are holding holding the same date in Madison Square Garden. So who knows? The exact same date. What the speculation is, it's going to be Holly Holm, Miesha Tate. They're not headlining; they're co-main eventing. It's going to be huge. The main event is Conor McGregor, Rafael dos Anjos for
and correct me
the
if
155-pound title. The 145-pound champion does not have to vacate. They are jerking Frankie Edgar off big time. They're assholes to him, the UFC.
Real quick, I believe this is the second time in history that a champion is being allowed to go up and compete for another title. UFC 94, I believe, BJ Penn was given that opportunity against GSP.
Yeah, but he had a little juice, I guess you can say, at that time frame. So it was a little bit different. This guy's actually demanding it. As long as he doesn't get hurt and he could defend the 145 title, I'm okay with that. It's just if you're going to say no to one of your champions at a different time for doing it, wanting to do the same thing, you got to stick to your guns. You can't just go up and down, up and down, up and down, and he's making the rules. Basically, he's showing everybody out there that it's Conor McGregor Incorporated versus the UFC, and anything he wants, he's gonna get.
I mean, didn't Jose Aldo want to move up to 55 for the longest time? No,
And
but they're letting McGregor.
How disrespectful to
Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar deserves a title shot more than anybody.
Frankie and the former champion.
To Frankie Edgar, to Jose Aldo. To Aldo, I kind of wanted him to be on the sideline either way.
Yeah,
I thought
resting and whatnot, no problem. But to be that disrespectful to this guy that has been your dominating champion in that division for such a long time, and for you to just say, oh, he's meaningless now, that's crazy. And then Frankie Edgar, just the little buzzsaw that he is, it's ridiculous that they keep passing him by.
With Reebok, with everything, Edgar, he needs to. This is going to help him cash in on his next contract, or you walk away. You say you're tired of being treated like this, and you take your popularity to Bellator.
Back to Spike TV.
Spike TV.
Absolutely.
You would make huge amounts of ratings, and also with how good Frankie Edgar is, and you put him in Bellator, he could win 2 titles. He could hold 55 and 45 belts.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know, because it depends, because Ben Henderson may be going that way as well.
And he's going to try to hold the 70 and the 55 title.
Yeah.
And let's not count Will Brooks, that he's going to give up that 55 title, because that man, do not want to disrespect him, is a bad man.
No, absolutely. And that's the crazy thing. That's where I get excited. with everything. Is if these guys rotate in and out and treat it like a business that it is these days. If the UFC is gonna treat you like you're just a piece of the business, and oh well, it doesn't make you don't really matter, because that's what they're saying to all these guys and girls. You don't matter. You're just you're a object. You're a piece of this business, and we're gonna chew you up, spit you out. You have to treat them the same way.
And you know what else? We should get a pat on the back. The UFC copied us the other day. I'm pretty sure that you're too sick of UFC Tonight to even put your eyes on it.
Yeah.
But they played the same game we played a couple weeks ago. Which free agent's more valuable? Overeem, Henderson, or Sterling? And I feel that everything that comes out on that show is just a figurehead of what the UFC already wrote.
Yeah.
And most sickeningly of not, those three jerks all thought that the most important free agent was Overeem. And
No.
I'm with you.
No.
It is Sterling,
He's
followed by Henderson. It is youth and potential over a declining chin and a former fan base.
A young guy who has flash, has pizzazz, has it, and you're gonna let him walk away. A star in the making. You're gonna let him walk away. A young, up and coming talent that can draw eyes, bring in a minority group. A totally different fan base, because we all know the group is mostly male, 18 to 34, white. You know that's except for here in New Mexico, but that's the way it is. And so to bring in the minorities coming up, you know, with him, it's ridiculous. It's stupid that they would even say that that's the guy to go after. Is Overeem? Overeem's not the guy. Overeem is old. He's on his last leg. He's making as much money as he can, and he's gonna be done pretty soon.
And I know they're not Conor McGregor. It's not, this loudmouth. But this weekend you have Dillashaw, Cruz, and if the UFC was smart enough, you could capitalize that one. The true number one contender bout, I'm talking about Thomas Almeida and re-signing Aljamain Sterling, because those are the two top prospects in the division. You have something there in a talent that you could bona fide into a star. You want guys that speak English, that are well-spoken. He's a smart individual. Don't understand why it's taking so long for them to throw a boatload of money and bring back Sterling.
And he's catering to this younger generation. Look at his haircut. He's one of these kids, wearing the Dookie chains. The Dookie chains are the gold chains from the 80s, but these
the rope
kids,
chain.
Yeah, the kids. I don't even know if they call them that nowadays, but they're bringing that style back of the 80s with the flat tops. My oldest has one of those eraser head kid and play style flat tops. But he's catering to the here and now, and those are the ones you want to get. Those are the kind of kids you want to bring in that can fight, well-spoken, like you said, and it's just mind-blowing.
And we're talking about the UFC being fools, and we can capitalize right back on where we're going with, why is Holly Holm a co-main event? She knocked out Ronda Rousey. It was a bona fide main event, and then we know that this will be mega money, mega ratings, but still, more respect. Holly should be headlining her own pay-per-view event, but thank God they got it right. Miesha Tate getting the title shot, Ronda Rousey getting recovery time.
Only reason why I'm not mad at that, and this is the only reason why, because Holly's going to get paid. On the pay-per-view back end, she's going to get paid. Thanks to Conor McGregor being the biggest star, and he is. Right now he is. There's no denying it, because he's getting whatever he wants. He's demanding stuff, and he's showing his power move right now. And it's funny, because a lot of these top dogs are basically not dealing with Dana White anymore. They're all dealing with Fertitta now. You notice that. And look, John Jones dealing with no longer dealing with Dana White. He's dealing with Fertitta. Conor McGregor even stated, he goes, I deal with Fertitta. So what is Dana doing now? Like
Dana White is on a reality show searching for a fight.
Yeah. 1-0, 0-1. It's wild, but it's interesting to see that whole transition of these guys. Look, Lenny Fresquez. Everybody said Dana says, oh, he's difficult. He's this. He's that. He is difficult, but let me tell you, two times he's 2-0 versus Dana White. Everything that they said. They wanted Holly in the UFC. They got the deal they wanted at that time. They re-upped their deal. They're talking to Fertitta. They're dealing with the big wig. They're not dealing with Dana, the emotional driven kind of guy anymore. It's just the way it is.
New 8-fight deal for Holly Holm. I said it last week on Combat Sports Weekly. You can find that on YouTube to hear me mouth off some more. But I'm going to say it now. I think that Holly fights Misha. She wins. She's going to have a fight, and it's going to be less than what people would think because the next opponent will be either Amanda Nunes or the arrestee, Juliana Pena. And then after that, by the end of the year, Rousey will be done with everything and will be well enough to come back. We're going to see her fight at the end of the year. The moral of the story, Holly, 8-fight deal. I believe she fights 6 times of those 8.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on the 6 times. I don't. Juliana Pena cannot.
They're desperate for contenders, and I believe that they're going to need to give Holly another fight before Ronda's ready after Misha.
Misha would smash her. And then Holly would smash Juliana Pena so fast. Her striking is beyond stupid.
If Betch Gohea can get a title shot, I'm not saying that she won't get destroyed. Yeah. I'm just telling you the UFC is going to give Holly another challenger before Ronda's ready because of the timeline. What do you think of that? Movies, recovery, training.
I think she broke her jaw in the fight. I really do. I don't think they're saying it. I don't know why they're not saying it. They should. Why are they hiding the fact that she did? And I think she needs more healing time from that. It's not only just the movies. I honestly believe she broke her jaw.
So it's going to be a while. So like I said, someone is going to get a less than, great title shot, a less than what we would say is deserving. That is what I think happens after this fight.
You made a valid point with Betch, getting that, holy cow. That striking on the pads for the open workout, they should have said they canceled her. During that time, I was like, oh my Lord, this girl's going to get murdered. But that also helped give the false sense of, I got Mike Tyson's skills in boxing, and then Rousey got in there with a real professional boxer and realized real fast that, this isn't the same.
So that's where we're at MMA-wise. We've got that March 5th. It's going to be the UFC 197. It's the most unofficial, official mega event. And then for us locally, let's jump into that. Boxing. It's going to be Cold War II, January 30th. Holmes Boxing. Buffalo Thunder, and Lanta, after I don't know how long it's taken, a month or more of knowing about the event, we finally know the main event. Fidel Maldonado, the Atrisco Kid, 20-3, 17 wins by knockout, taking on Michael Clark, who has held some titles in his day, has a lot of experience under his belt, 44, 14-1 as a pro, and a 6-fight losing streak, getting knocked out 5 times in the first round. Fidel Maldonado Jr., I believe, is going to have a highlight reel knockout, and the crowd is going to be cheering. That should be a fun moment.
Yeah, it should be. Look, they do their cards, they have fun, and I think it's always a good thing. The fight that I actually want to see is Alex Hoguin and Jean Pettis.
A fight that is kind of surprising. Neither guy are on the poster. It's the first fight us at CageMinds.com found out about. Thank you, Alex Holguin, for that information. Jean Pettis, they're going to throw down. He's only won, and I believe it's 4-1, and he has that experience, though. He stays active. He's a brawler. He took Patrick Holmes Jr. to the decision in a rough fight. Holguin, this should be an exciting one.
This is going to be a test for Alex. Because you got Gene, who's not a pushover by any means whatsoever. Patrick realized that real fast, that he's in for a fight. And he had to use every skill that he had that night to pull off the win in the boxing ring. So it's going to be a fun night for Alex and Gene. I wouldn't be surprised if Gene actually pulls the upset.
It would surprise me somewhat just because of the momentum. 5 consecutive wins by Alex, getting sharper and sharper each time. Gene is like a measuring stick around here, and they're hoping to see if Alex can get over that. I'd be slightly surprised, but this is, if you were betting on it, you're a 200 minus underdog in Gene. It's not a huge underdog. He has that skill, and even in his most recent loss out in Hobbs, he took it to the decision, and he's earning respect throughout that boxing community, even with these losses just being a tough out. Brandon Holmes, he's also going to be on the card. He's in a rematch. Eric Gonzalez, the only guy to take Holmes to the decision, and looking for that one to get down. Also, Antonio Martinez Patrick Holmes Jr., and the debut of Matthew Griego, all expected coming January 30th. Also, we talked to them earlier, IMI Group. We got boxing, that's February 20th. And Tony Valdez is going to be on the card. We know he brings it. The Sanchez brothers. A lot of boxing. Northern New Mexico. Going to be exciting. Let's talk about some more MMA, though.
Well, Fit NHB's Ray Borg signed on to fight at UFC 196. What do you think about his matchup?
Borg taking on Scoggins. Scoggins was supposed to fight Joby Sanchez. Sanchez fought Herrera. Now we're seeing Herrera, who lost to Borg. Borg fighting Scoggins, a little tournament going on in there. It's a tough fight. I expect Ray Borg in his grappling again to come out on top because we have such high expectations for him, but he has to show some more in the striking because he does have an ever-dangerous opponent in Scoggins.
I think Ray is enough of a UFC veteran now that he's going to be able to handle it, and he should get the victory.
And that's a big fight also on the card for flyweights. Joseph Benavidez, Zach Mikoski, getting closer to what we want around a Borg, maybe Benavidez fight.
I say bring it here to Tingley Coliseum. If they're really planning to come back here and do a fight, absolutely. And then I heard there's also the city approved an arena for downtown, I believe.
We're going to have giant, massive reconstruction of the convention center,
yeah,
and the end result will be a 10,000-seat stadium.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Talking UFC, big boxing, we're talking about it.
Yeah, you know, Pat Holmes, that's the one thing with the Holmes people in Santa Fe. They do have the connections with Golden Boy. Golden Boy brings TV down here. That's a 10,000-seat arena. Put Fidel in the headliner in Albuquerque. Huge. There's your boxing. UFC, Invicta can come down, scale it down, I'm sure, you know, in the sense of the arena and drop it down to even 8,000, 5,000. You could scale that room down. I'm sure any arena can be scaled down.
I'm starting to lose my hope, though, on Invicta ever coming out here. I mean, we had Michelle, Jody, they've moved on towards that UFC. It looks like having Amber on top of fight, that would be massive down here.
I'm hearing that they're trying to stay on the West Coast. More so, you know. So we're kind of Southwest Coast, you know, in the sense.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There might be, you know. There's always a chance, but we could bring in RFA. We could bring in these other televised events, you know, and hopefully get some of our local talent on there as well. Joseph Benavidez and Ray Borg, are they on a collision course? It sure seems like it.
I feel like it is.
I think if they both win, I think they'll match them up next. I really do.
I think it is an interesting matchup with Scoggins. You put Borg right there, and preliminarily, you know, the way it's lining up, they could be right next to each other on the main card, on the prelims. It's a collision course. I think it's something smart. The UFC has to start doing stuff like that. They kind of disappoint me with us seeing the same old people in the main card. You got to get that new flavor, that new vibe, so we know who these challengers are, so that when a guy like Tony Ferguson earns a title shot with a 7-fight winning streak, people aren't like, who's that?
Yeah, but you know what? The UFC's feeling that kind of pain, but so is Bellator. Bellator has the same issue. We say it all the time. Look at Steve Garcia locally here, one of the hottest fighters out. He looks like Dominic Cruz the way he moves in there, identical to him. He's tall. He's a handsome kid. He is truly a kid, and he's very, very talented inside the cage. But they don't utilize him.
I'm talking about that kid. March 4th, Bellator 151. Believe he's going to be back in there. Right now they have him on the card preliminarily with that ever-dangerous opponent, TBA, that is to be announced. But Steve Garcia, my God, finally back in action.
Another fight, but they're underutilizing that talent of a young talent. So it's not only the UFC's problem, it's Bellator's problem. They're trying to figure it out. I think both sides are. I think UFC kind of bit off a lot more than they can chew in 2015. And there were growing pains, and we see it. We're still seeing it, especially with the Reebok deal. I don't know, you know, if there's any kind of wording for either side to get out, but I would get out, you know, or figure out how they can do stuff, especially with Cowboy Cerrone getting fined for adding in the little piece of his trunks, you know.
Cowboy Cerrone being fined for that. Nate Diaz being fined for wearing blue jeans to the weigh-in instead of official Reebok sweats. And also Rafael Dos Anjos, who, if you guys didn't know, it makes a lot more money from Evolve in Japan, his sister gym that helps pay for him at Kings MMA, he wore their shirt on the way in, got fined by Reebok. I don't think he cares. I believe they pay him more. But
They probably paid the fine for him.
You're talking about on Fox, a huge venue like that, and your three biggest, the 3 stars that people have their eyes on the most get fined for ridiculous, minuscule things in the cage and on the weigh-ins.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid, because, okay, does Reebok get fined for all these mistakes?
You mean Silva, Aldo leaving off part of Ireland?
Aldo leaving Ireland off. Let's see, what else? There's a bunch of different mistakes. So are they getting fined? Are they getting penalized any kind of way? No. So it's one way only. Again, it's a business, and that's the way it goes.
Kind of sad to see the UFC becoming the NFL, like a no-fun league.
Yeah. Although yesterday's games, Sunday's games on Fox, they were fun.
They were fun. That was good football.
So, anyways, let's get back. February 13th, Jackson's MMA series returns to Buffalo Thunder. We're talking MMA. We're talking local scene. And they added Santa Fe native Natalie Roy.
I'm not getting near any cracks, any ladders, any mirrors. I have every finger crossed. I am like Hulk Hogan, taking vitamins, saying prayers at night, that this whole card comes to fruition, because I believe we're looking at like 8, 9 amateur fights and 3 pro fights. We haven't had a card up there, Buffalo Thunder, this big in quite some time. Nick Urso, Jordan Espinosa. Jordan has called out Nick. He wants this fight. I believe the winner of this catapults himself up in RFA, a legacy ladder, if they're not getting a call to the UFC. It's a huge fight. You got another pro fight with guys that are going to bang it out in Matt Finney and Jerry Sano. And then, long time in the making, returning to the cage, Natalie Roy. Her biggest opponent so far has been finding a fight. Audrey Perkins, who is a longtime amateur, stepping up to make her pro debut. Great to see Natalie back in the cage. Excited for that.
I'm excited for her to be back in the cage. It's mind-blowing to me how Invicta wouldn't want somebody like her. I would be calling her right now, offering her a contract, if I was Invicta.
With the random people that they do sign and add to their roster.
And this girl actually has a Muay Thai background, actually has a boxing background. Bring her in. She actually can fight. So why not? You need the talent. You're rotating them in and out, and they're going up to the UFC. Bring her in at 115, let her fight.
That would be great. And then also, this card is just mind-blowingly good down at the amateur end. Jesse Tafoya versus Marquise Smith. Marquise hasn't fought in a while, but in 2014 on CageMinds.com, we gave him the Amateur Fight of the Year against Slade Ring. It was amazing at a AAA event. And then also, we know how good Jesse is, the verge of making it pro, and just wait till that happens. Also down at flyweight, hopefully still stays intact, Ricky Escobar, Javier Cepeda. A mind-blowingly good card we have in store.
That'll be a fun fight. That's the main event of the amateur side of the card. Javier, if he's training and he's putting in that work inside the gym, I think he'd be a tough challenge for anybody. Right now at the amateur level in Albuquerque, or in New Mexico, I should say. So it's going to be a stiff test for Ricky, and I'm just wondering when Javier turns pro.
Javier and Jesse are both right on that verge. I don't know why. I'm at the point where both of them, I figure, after these fights would be going that route. For Jesse, I've been saying that for a while. Javier, he's had several title fights across the nation fall out on him, trying to get him an amateur title belt. It's time to make that jump, hopefully soon.
Yeah. Again, the February 13th, Jackson's MMA series, if that card stays intact, and if I have a feeling if the fights go off the way we feel they're going to, this could be the fight card of the year in February for the local scene.
This will set a high bar for all other promoters to live up to for a lot of fights. I'm in such excitement that I said I just don't want to jinx it right now.
Sure. And speaking of the IMI group, you have an interview with
Eric Martinez coming up.
That's
We've
gonna
been
be coming
talking
up right,
about it too.
Right after
Rumble
this.
at the Rock 2. We're going to talk with Eric Martinez, and he's going to tell us all about that event when we come back.
the Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
The DC Life Uncensored is back. Right now, you just get some time with Micah Frankel. I'm going to bring on Eric Martinez, I Am I Group, Legacy Boxing Promotions. Going to be back presenting Rumble at the Rock 2, February 20th. Eric, thank you for the time. Tell us about the event coming up.
Well, thanks for having us on the call today, Micah. It's just really an honor to work with you and Sal and the whole team up there in Albuquerque. And we're fired up for another event. As you have seen, Rumble at the Rock 2 really bringing out a lot of the excitement that we had for part 1. As everyone knows on the internet, the fight with Tony and Gilberto was fight of the year. So we're looking to trying to get to that caliber of excitement and entertainment this time of the year, just to start off the beginning of 2016.
So, leaving off on that, we heard that there's a change to the card. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we had some challenges with the weight classes, one being too heavy, the other one being too light, and in all fairness to our guys, Tony and also the other fighter, we're bringing on a gentleman from Los Angeles, California. His name is Raymond Chacon. He's currently at 4-17. Really tough competitor. Don't let the record be a misconception as to what he brings to the ring. But we're excited to get Tony back in there again for the third fight over the past 9 months, and so we're flat fired up to really get this event kicked off. A lot of excitement and a lot of feedback from from all of our guests and our customers that really have been wanting to see these guys really get back at it again. So the fans are excited. We're excited, and we're just really looking to make this the biggest fight to start off 2016.
Now, previously, when the card was announced, Tony was going to be switching weight classes. So what's the weight class that this main event's now going to take place at?
Well, he's going to be at 119 plus 2. So I think we're going to go back to his original weight class. I think we had a mix-up on numbers in respect to Tony's training and his manager and trainer, Sergio. We made the decision to bring it back down to 119 plus 2. And so it's really, we're trying to keep everyone safe, but at the same time very competitive. And the weight class that we were going up to was just a little too heavy.
Well, I know that you're close and you have a lot of communications with Tony. For him, that would be the heaviest he's been in about 3 years. So what was his thoughts on the weight, and how excited was he to be able, it sounds like, to eat some more?
Well, he was pumped up. If anyone has worked with some of the fighters in the industry, and especially me dealing with Tony directly, it can be a really tough, a big challenge to really try and get these guys to lose so much weight. These gentlemen are walking around at a certain weight, and to bring them down, 10 pounds within a 6-week period of time, it can be challenging. So he was excited to be able to be a little heavier. But in some of his prior fights, it was a flat 118. So he's glad to at least have the couple of pounds extra for this time around.
And then also talking about some of the other fights you have on the card, we have Jesus Xavier Pacheco back again, making his way up to the co-main event, I believe, is where he's stacked out against David Proa. Did I say his name right? Oh, okay. I didn't know if I came off wrong on that last name. So tell us a little bit about that and what you've seen working with Jesus and his involvement so far.
Well, what I've recognized out of Jesus is he has got not only the power in his punch, but he's able to really, he's very mobile, and his athleticism has gone to the level where he can be in and out of a boxer's vision and really just bring in the power of the punch.
And from what I understand in watching David Proa, he brings a pretty heavy punch to this fight, and so it's going to be pretty impressive due to the fact that Xavier is just so much more advanced these days compared to when I first met him. I mean, he's taken his level of professionalism in the sport of boxing to just such a significant reason why we brought him up to the co-main event, because we really, the fans are noticing it, and he's doing fantastic. Again, it's been a while since David Proa's been back in the ring. There was a lot of excitement. David Proa calling out some guys out at the last fight at Albuquerque for Pitbull Torres, and so it's going to be an exciting one. A lot of people are calling because they're excited to see David back in the ring, but to go against an elite fighter such as Xavier, it's going to be intense. Could be even one of the toughest fights of the night.
And then the Sanchez brothers are going to be back on the card. And got to give you guys some crap. Do we have a poster correction coming?
Correct. The Sanchez brothers are still on there, so we're excited about that. Jason being one of the undefeated fighters at this point on our card. Working with his father and trainer, Pepe Sanchez. It's been really exciting to now we finally are going to have both brothers on the card. Sadly, as we all know, back in April of last year, we lost their brother, Alan Sanchez. But now we can actually bring these two gentlemen onto the card. Jason comes with just a unique style. Jose Luis Sanchez is just... his power and speed with the combination of the two, it's going to be really exciting to see him against Ambricio Batista, and he's also an undefeated fighter. So we're really excited to see the combo of these two brothers, and then some of the intensity of the opponents that they're going to be going against.
And then kicking off the night, I believe right now on the card, first time for you guys, a ladies fight, Amberly Trujillo and Kristen Montano. Women's boxing, when did you guys decide to make that jump?
It actually came from the Duke City Throwdown. We had literally hundreds of requests that we bring the female aspect to the game, really bringing on some of the toughest fighters that we could, and we got some prospects that been calling us, and we almost brought it on for the Albuquerque event in August. But different logistics and details to contracts and things didn't fall through, so we were able to have enough time for this time around. And Amberly actually contacted Tony and said, "Hey, I want to get back in the ring. I really want to make this happen." And it's going to be exciting to bring Amberly Trujillo from Espanola. She has a big influence out of the Espanola area. And, we've kind of missed out on seeing Monica Lovato, in the ring. Some of the female aspects to boxing have been kind of lost. So who knows? Again, supply and demand and really what people have been wanting to see in our card. We decided, you know what, we got the ladies that are really willing and excited to do this. And so why not move forward and let's get these ladies back in the ring.
It's going to be the third card for you guys. What have you learned, Eric, about being a boxing promoter, running an event, putting a card together?
Well, in the very beginning, it was a challenging industry to jump into, especially having another fight about 2 miles down the road. That was it was certainly the hard way to learn for the very first fight, but. Well, one of the things is, I think is important and is vital to this industry is respect towards other promoters and making sure that the collaboration and the communication is there, because it's not really fair to anyone in the industry, the fighters, the promoters, and all the fans that really want to watch the sport to really throw a fight on the same night. And so one of the things I've learned is really the details to contracts and the expectations of what the fighters want, and really just the respect of other promoters within the state of New Mexico and the industry in itself. So I think that it was a learning curve for not only myself, but also a veteran in the industry, Mr. Pat Holmes. I think he learned something as well. And now we have our events on different nights here locally in northern New Mexico, which is going to be exciting for all of our fans in Santa Fe and Espanola. And so we're excited about that. And if I had to say anything, it's just really just having the respect for both the fighters and anyone in the industry itself.
Your first fight, there were 2 boxing fights that night. One just a couple miles down the road. The second event, another 5 miles down the road, there was also an MMA event. So now on the 20th, for hundreds of miles, you guys will be the only event. So do you guys have any thoughts about that and how you'll be able to capitalize on you will be the only show in town for once?
You know, it's going to be new, to say the least. You know, I really didn't expect to end up having to have the battle of promoters on the same evening in 2 different events. But yeah, it's actually going to be a luxury to me. Sales weren't impacted by the last 2 fights because we really had the best of the shows. Not to be cocky, but we really had the toughest fights on any one of the cards. And quite honestly, it's if anything, we're going to see probably a huge increase in sales, and then also being able to really meet the expectations of all the fans out there, to where now they can go and watch, you know, the Holmes brothers and Fidel. I understand has a really tough card coming up, and then also be able to see us just a few weeks later after that. So it's going to be a positive thing all the way around for not only my camp and what we've got going on with our team, but also for the other promoters out there.
I'm not the one to throw punches, but you guys are throwing out fights. You guys are giving us a fight card right now, and your event's 2 weeks later than another certain event with Fidel Maldonado, and they're a good, 2 weeks away from that event, and we're still scrambling to, as a media, find out what their card is. So how have you looked at their promotion and tried to do things a little differently?
Well, as we spoke earlier, we are bringing the female aspects and you know, bringing some female athletes out there. One thing that we're doing to cater to our fans is we're going to be bringing kind of a comedy portion of bringing Carlos Medina and Gabriel de la Plaga, and bringing him on to really have some fun. But as far as our marketing and promotions, we really not done anything different. It's just going to be a lot easier because not everyone is just focused on one evening. You got it spread out a little bit. So we're excited about that. I've not had any challenges on the approach and the direction that we've taken with our marketing. And with the 2 top people out of Espanola, really, that's going to be as you'll see that evening, is going to be a huge show out, and having Espanola's best, and then also having the Albuquerque flavor out there, and a ton of fighters from Albuquerque that are going to be on the same card. So we haven't had to really do anything different. It's been a blessing. We're excited, and working with Jordan and Aaron Perez, the Perez brothers out of Albuquerque. They bring a different type of promotional and marketing that helps with our Albuquerque market. I'm up here in Espanola towards the Santa Fe area as well, and working on that part of the market. So we're able to really tackle the marketing on every single different angle of the state of New Mexico.
And then I've loved what you guys have been doing, the fights that you guys have been putting together and putting out there. What have you thought of how the fighters and what you've been able to put as a product in the ring?
I've been very pleased. If as you've noticed, every single one of the fights that we've had have not been close calls. Or not been easy calls, rather. So really, the caliber of talent that we're able to put into the ring. You know, you got the Sanchez brothers, you got, you know, Tony that's been in the industry for over 15 years, and then a younger demographic and working with Amberly. And we get calls, I get calls daily asking if we have space on our card to bringing on other fighters all the way from Georgia to Los Angeles to New York. And so the professionalism that we bring to this organization and to this industry is appealing to a lot of the fighters out there, and also a lot of the promoters and management out different areas of the United States.
I'm sure that this event coming up with the area, with the talent, with the promotion, you guys will definitely sell out. But the last event, was it somewhat of a mistake heading to such a big venue so quickly, second event, going to the convention center?
Well, it was ambitious on our part. It was, I wouldn't say a mistake, because the fans got what they wanted. But it was a fairly large venue. We probably want to hold off on doing something so large until we really got a following. I think we had more at the Rumble at the Rock 1 event than we did at this one, but it can also be a little daunting when you utilize a facility such as the convention center. It's also very costly there as well. But not to say that it's not the perfect area to be able to present an event due to the fact that it's ideal and as far as location in downtown Albuquerque. But you know, as you move along, you learn different things, and you know, the support of our sponsors has been huge in being able to stay with our organization and being able to push more events. We just hats off to all the platinum sponsorship that have assisted us. Such as Budweiser, you know, the Pettis Collision. We've got several different organizations that are really supporting us to be able to stay within being able to do events in Albuquerque and also in Santa Fe and Espanola. So, in answer to your question, we do want to get back into Albuquerque, and we will have another event there. But the convention center really is huge. So unless you're doing, you know, 5,000 people, it's probably not the most ideal.
Rumble at the Rock 2. I've never seen Tony Valdez in a boring fight. Eric, where can the people get tickets at?
Currently, they're on sale at holdmyticket.com. So you can go to that website. There is a seating chart, pretty easy, user-friendly type of website. There's also a phone number that's going to be out on our posters. I don't have that phone number in front of me, but it also goes to holdmyticket.com. And you can call myself or any one of the fighters out there. I know a lot of the fans have contact with Tony and Jason and Amberly and Jose, Luis Sanchez, David, Xavier. Everybody has their numbers, but you're also welcome to call me directly. My cell phone number is 505-927-0806. And if you have any questions, we're going to have printed tickets available by Wednesday. So those will be in the Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Espanola area this week.
One more time, that was Eric Martinez, Legacy Boxing Promotions, I Group, Camel Rock Casino, Rumble at the Rock 2, February 20th. Thank you for the time, Eric.
Hey, appreciate the phone call. Thank you. See you guys there.
And we're back. The DC Life. What a show. What an action-packed show. We talk local. We talk national. We talk to Brandon Gibson. We talked to Eric Martinez from IMI Group, Rumble at the Rock 2. That's coming up. It's a local event. Micah, any last words?
Enjoy the fights, everybody. I mean, don't forget, also, RFA, I forgot to mention, this Friday, Andrew Tennyson, undefeated Jackson Wink fighter, 3-0. He's opening the card up. He's a talent to watch out for. Invicta, UFC Fight Night 81. Sal?
Well, that's it for this week's edition of the DC Life. DC Life is recorded live inside the Fight Shop, New Mexico, and you can find us up at cageminds.com. Check us out. Enjoy. We'll see you next week. We got a lot to cover.